Sherls here. Thank you for stopping by on my channel. Welcome or welcome back. If you are new, please subscribe and help my channel grow. It's almost the end of the year. Are you ready for the new year? Same as last year, I am making a planner as part of my children's teacher's Christmas present. I had shared the planner for free on my Ko-fi page. You can find the link on this tutorial description box. They are available in US letter size and A4 size. Unlike last year though, I did not separate the weekly planner by season. I just split them into signatures. This planner is designed to be printed double-sided, then folded into half. I originally printed mine on a plain copy paper, then I feel that it is rather too plain. Therefore, I also designed a very subtle background for these planners. There are 5 pages in the planner backgrounds, 3 of the floral designs, 2 more of the masculine designs. If you have other background pages that you like, of course, feel free to print it first, then print the planner. Yes, each page of this planner was run through the printer twice. Each sheet was run through my printer 4 times. I printed mine without a border. My Epson EcoTank printer won't print double-sided when it's set to print borderless. What I did was print on one side, put the paper back on the tray, then printed the other side. Most printers, I believe, print the side that's facing down on the paper tray. When I placed my paper to print the other side, I put the wrong side facing up. So for example, this digital. This is the correct side and this is, of course, the wrong side. I first place my paper like this, so when it prints, it will print out like this. And if I want to print this side, then I will place my paper like this and it will print properly on this side. If you print the PDF without changing any setting, the page that will be printed first is the last page. That means when your printer finishes printing, the first page will be on the top. It's in the correct order and ready to use. I printed the even pages first, then flip the order such that the page that printed last, which is this one, will be on the bottom. Then put them back on the paper tray and print the odd pages. So when this is coming out first from the printer, it will be on this order. Like this. By the printer definition, by the printer default setting, this is correct. And before I printed the odd pages, I will flip this such that this page, the one that's on the top, will be on the bottom. I will put it like this. So I will flip the order like this. And then place it on my paper tray like this. And then when it's coming out, it will print from the top page or the last page in the PDF file, and it will be coming out complete like this. And this is the way that I printed this planner digital. For the summary, the order of my printing is printing the background of my choice on one side, put the paper back on the tray with the printed side facing up, print the background again, print the even page of the monthly planner file, flip the order, put it back on the tray, and finally print the odd pages. Then repeat for the 3 weekly planners. It's very repetitive process. It can be confusing, but after you've done it once, the rest will be very easy. I could have put the planners on one file. However, I thought splitting them into respective signature would be easier to understand. The planner was designed such that the final planner will be half size of US letter size or A4 size. If you bind them like this, it will not make sense. You need to fold each sheet into half widthwise first. I recommend folding the pages one by one so the final result will look tidy, especially if you make this as a gift. This is what you will get. The half page of the previous page match the half page of the next page. It doesn't hurt to check to make sure that the pages are in correct order before you bind it. There are 2 types of binding I use for the planner I'm going to give to my children's teachers. One is a removable binding, and the other one is an alteration of coptic stitch binding. The removable binding gives the flexibility to reuse the cover at the end of 2025. Although it is a bit thicker and bigger, it's easier to mass produce. The outer coptic stitch binding is more compact and takes more time to bind. This is the 2024 planner that I made for myself last year. It's also using a removable binding system. I already removed the 2024 planner and now I'm using this for something else. The way that I did this removable binding last year, I just wrapped a thread around the spine so you can see it on the other side. And for this year, I decided to do something different. I still wrap it on the spine, but instead of wrapping that right on top of the spine to the bottom, I made a hole and wrapped the spine through these holes. Then I covered the spine with a piece of fabric so you don't see the thread on the outside. Why I did differently this year? Because I found that sometimes this thread here, this one, it tends to run to the joint between the spine and the cover. And if I did not enforce the spine, this tear here will already pull apart the spine and the cover. Thankfully, it still works and it still joined properly because of this fabric. Due to the different approach of me looping the thread around the spine for the removable binding, my new way of removable binding system result in a taller planner. This doesn't bother me, but if it bothers you, then you might want to loop your thread around the spine directly like my old system. For the removable binding, I cut a cereal box 1/4 inches wider than half US letter size and 9 1/4 inches tall. For the spine, I use a 3 1/4 inches by 9 1/4 inches strip. I also use a strip of fabric, a packing tape, book pages, and some pages from my flower language digital. The first step that we need to do for this removable binding is to make the cover. And to make the cover, I like to use a packing tape to join the spine and the front and the back cover. If you have a tie bag, feel free to use it. I just thought that packing tape is something that everyone has, and that should be the one that I'm using here. What I'm trying to do now is to position the spine on the center of this packing tape strip. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered. Kind of center should be good enough. And of course, I like to use my scraper to push out the bubbles and making sure that it is adhered tightly. And I will be using the new tool that I just got not so long ago to make sure that I have proper gap between the spine and the front cover as well as back cover. You can do this just by eyeballing it and leave around an 1/8 inches gap, or maybe like 2 millimeter or 3 millimeter gap. But since I already have the tool, why not using it? This. Then again, using my scraper to make sure that it is properly adhered and no bubble. As for the excess packing tape here, I usually just fold it in and then use my scraper to make the form by pushing the scraper against the thickness of the cover and the spine. And the other side as well. Now I can cover this with the book pages from a sewing magazine. I will be using this double-sided tape. This is the tape refill of my ATG gun. It has a very strong bond, but unfortunately, I found that it will tear apart so easily with the ATG gun. Therefore, right now, I'm using it without the ATG gun. And frankly, I want it much easier to make sure that it is positioned where I want it to be. I only apply the double-sided tape only on the edges where I want it to be properly adhered. And because this is something that I want to give as a gift, I need to make sure that it is properly adhered. And my scraper will make sure that there is no bubble and the tape is adhered properly onto the cover. Rest of the surface, I like to just use my glue stick to make sure it is not bubbling up. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to make sure that most of the area of the book page is adhered to the cover. Again, using my handy dandy tool. For this one, I will also be using my cutting mat just to make my life easier. I will directly cut this corner like this. The use of this tool is not necessary. I just happen to have it, so I decided to use it. this one, because I cannot see where is the edge, I like to fold it like this and then apply my double-sided tape. I glued the wrong side, but that's fine. This is already happening. For this side, I will just be applying my double-sided tape again around the edge of the cover like this. For this part, use your scraper to form the shape of the spine. Push your scraper against the thickness of the fold of the spine and thus forming the book pages into the shape of the spine. For the inside cover, I cut the pages from my flower language digital a 1/4 inches shorter than the height of the cover. So this is 9 inches. And this one, I cut it a 1/4 inches narrower than the cover. So this one is 9 inches by 5 inches. I will be adhering this like this. See, this side will go across the spine and onto the back cover, and then I will adhere this on top of it like so. For this part, before I took the backing of this double-sided tape, I like to run my scraper against the edge of the front cover and the spine to form the gap between the spine and the cover. Otherwise, in the final result, I might get a bubble here. So basically, just use a scraper or a ruler if you don't have it. Put it against this gap here and press it against the thickness of the spine or the cover if that's the face that you are facing. Just like this. Massage it very gently, making sure that it forms the gap between the spine and the cover. And I can press it. Take the backing of the next one and press it well, and then form the next shape like this. So If you don't have scraper, you can also use your ruler or your bone folder. Let's just use bone folder for the other side. So this is my bone folder. Press it like this against the thickness of the back cover. And as you can see, as I run the paper, it is making the thickness form of the back cover. Now, I can complete this. Oops. And the last packing. Oops, I tore this, but that's fine because it will be hidden by another paper. It's like this. And I just realized that there is one more here that I forgot to take off. Don't do this. Make sure that you have all of the double-sided tape backing already removed and properly adhere before you completely adhere the paper. This one is done, and let's see if I can peel off the backing of the one that's on this side. There it is. Now properly adhering it again. The shape is still perfect. And this one looks ugly, but it's okay because I'm going to use this sheet to cover it up. For this one, I will be using my double-sided tape again for the edges to make sure that it is not leaving any gap, and I will apply my glue stick on the big center area. Now the cover is almost done, and this one doesn't make any bubble. It looks so nice, except that I adhered the wrong side, but that's totally fine. It still looks pretty. Using my oval punch, I will make holes on the top and bottom of the spine. Just position this like this, and I like to fold the cover up to make sure that it is centered, and actually the spine width is exactly the width of my punch, so that's also helpful. Make sure it is straight and punch, and the other side as well. The next step is pretty obvious: threading the thread. I have not cut my thread yet. I like to leave it like this while I'm threading it around the holes here. There. I only need 4 strands of thread here, but I only have a little bit left of this thread, so I decided to make another loop, and I can print a note or something for the last signature. And I'm making sure that they are in the correct order. I don't think it will be an issue, but it's my preference not to have them twisted. And this part, it really doesn't matter if it is in the middle or not, because I will be covering them up. That's it, it's done. I might need to cut this extra thread here, this. And now I can take my strip of fabric and cover it up. This fabric will go on the back like this. For the spine, I just like to put glue on the top and the bottom, so the thread here is not secure on the spine. And it can move around according to the thickness of the signature it is holding. There, our cover is almost done. Now we can put our signatures in. I only have 4 signatures here, 1 for the monthly planner and 3 for the weekly planner. This is printed out of the old planner file. I already corrected the file on the coffee page, so make sure that yours is saying weekly planner, not monthly planner. This one, I will make a collage to cover it up after I finish with this book. The monthly planner goes first, and then the weekly planner. The week one is easy to recognize which one because it will have this cover page. And the second weekly planner, how you can tell which one is the second and which one is the third, which one comes first. May come first and then September. That's the order if you accidentally mix them up. I bind these signatures using my stapler. If you like, of course, you can sew each of these signatures. And I have one more thread here that I will be putting a note signatures later. The final step of this planner is just to decorate the cover as you like. I will be doing this off camera, of course, so this tutorial won't take forever. For the outer coptic stitch binding, I printed one of the pages from my Springtime Digital on a 65-pound or 175 GSM paper. I printed 2 of the same page, one for the front cover and one for the back cover. I will also be using my handy dandy book cradle, a pocket tool, a wax thread, and a needle, of course. The planner signatures for this one are folded and ready to bind. I just need to fold the cover into half widthwise. To do this, I like to use my scoring board. I highly recommend you use a scoring mark first before folding the cardstock. Use your ruler and a thread out ballpoint, an embossing pen, or anything dull to make the score mark if you don't have a scoring board. If you fold the cardstock without making the score mark first, the fold line won't look crisp and neat. Now it's time to poke the binding holes. To make my life easier, I made a template for the binding holes position. Position of them for the US letter size are 1/2 inches, 1.5 inches, 2.5 inches, 4.25 inches, 6 inches, 7 inches, and 8 inches. I already checked my signatures, so now I just need to tap them on my table to make sure the papers fall into the fold line. Then I will line the top of the signatures to the top of the book cradle, place my template, and use my pokey tool to pierce the holes. Pierce it straight so the hole won't be wonky. For the cover, it's easy. I just need to place it on the book cradle and pierce it. It's totally fine to use a scrap cardstock paper for this because we won't be able to see the inside. This is a DIY book cradle, by the way. I made this not so long ago using just cereal boxes and fabric. I shared the steps on my channel. I have used this to pierce over 10 signatures and it is still working great. I'm very happy to report that it is still as sturdy as the day I finished it. It's been super helpful to make sure I pierce my binding holes properly in the fold line. And you can fold this flat. Now is the fun binding time. In my first attempt, I cut my thread 2 times the length of my signature's height. I have 6 signatures. That means 12 times the length of this spine. And it is too much. I had over 3 spine length thread left over. This is the leftover thread. So for this planner, I'm going to cut 10 times the length of the spine. Start stitching from the inside of the first hole. It doesn't matter if it is from the top or the bottom. Leave a little bit extra here, and I like to use a clip to make sure that it stays. Then stitch along the fold line in and out of the hole. It's a very long thread, so be patient with it. Sometimes it might tangle into each other. Just untangle it. Pull your thread tight. We don't want it to be very tight. We want it to be just snug. Once you reach the last hole, sew it back. And make sure not to poke the existing thread, so it'll be easier for you to pull the thread if it is too loose. On the last stitch, I like to tie the excess thread into a knot so I don't have to bother with it for the next signatures. And this one will go through the same holes again, going out like this. Now, the second signature, I like to clip the previous signature with the signature that I'm working on so it doesn't flap around like this. For this one, we are going to go through the first hole of the second signature and coming out from the next one. Loop it through the thread on the first signature. This will be the one that joined the first and the second signature. And then loop again through the next thread. So it will be making a loop from this one into the next one like this and pull it tight. Again, not too tight, we just want it to be snug. And then coming out the next hole, looping this through the thread above the spine of the first signature, and the next one, is making a loop again through these two threads. Pull it tight again, and going back through the same hole. And continue for the remaining holes. For the last one, just loop it through this thread like this. If Before I continue with the next signature, I like to pull my thread to make sure that it is snug. I don't want this to be loose because the gap between the first signature and the second signature will be too wide, and I don't like seeing that. This one is nice and perfect. Maybe a little bit more pull on the top, but that's fine. And now the next signature, we are pretty much going to repeat the same stitching, but there's a slight difference there. I need the excess of the gap between the first and the second signatures. I'm going to clip the second signature and the first half of the third signature, and this one, let's just use one clip and this should be fine. I already looped this thread around the thread on top of the first span, so now I can just poke it through the first hole of the third signature like this. For this one, to join the third signature with the first two signatures, I'm going to thread this needle through the gap between the first signature and the second signature like this. It's coming out here, and then back on the other side of this joint here like this. I like to make sure that I don't thread it through the thread on top of the first signature, because I don't want to pull that thread around. This one here, I don't want it to be on this side. I want the needle to come out from the other side of the thread. Pull it tight enough that it is snug, but not too tight that it will curve the spine. Again, make sure that it is tight. In from here and out, not on this side. We want it to be on the other side. This side. The last one, also we need to go through in between the first and the second signature, this and coming back out. I always like to check the gap between the signature that I just joined and the previous one to make sure that the gap is not very wide. This one is nice, but this one for me, it is a little bit too wide, so I'm going to pull the thread a little bit tighter. Much better. And now we can continue working with the next 3 signatures. we do not need this part, so we can clip the first half of the fourth signature and the third signature. And for this one, we just need this one because we need to access the gap between the second and the third signature. I already loop it, so I can start stitching. Be careful when pulling the thread on the first and the last signature. You might tear the page because it's only one sheet of paper. If that's concern you, you can put a strip of packing tape on the center of the page before you fold it. That packing tape will add more strength to the holes and the fold line. That's better. And for this one, it's done like this. But if you want the first and the last signature to have the same look, what I mean is this thread, then you need to sew it back. But this time it will be on the outside. And how I do it, I did it by thread the needle back to the holes like this and loop it on this thread here, thread it out and in, make a loop, out, in, and repeat. And the last one, we just need to make a knot to finish the binding. This is the thread that I have left. Actually, I cut my thread around 9.5 of the spine length. So I think 9 times of the spine length will be enough for this. This is not done yet because we don't want to see this ugly page. And we want this to make a complete cover. I do this by adhering these two sheets together and it will make the cover. It will have a nice thickness too because I'm using a thick cardstock paper. The outer coptic stitch bond planner is done and ready to use or to be gifted. I might be putting some glitter on top of this flower here so it will be more sparkly like the one that I did here. I have not decided yet if I want to put a booklet here. These are some of the booklet that I just designed. I will be sharing this for free on my Ko-fi page. If I put a booklet, it will be down here so the teacher can write her name or 2025 planner or whatever she wants. I have not decided this. I will be deciding this later. And this is another planner. It's also alter coptic stitch bond, but the background that I use is the gear one, the one that's more masculine in my opinion. And therefore, I use the background in the ephemera storage envelope. In my opinion, this one feels so masculine. That's why I didn't put any collage here and just put this frame and use a pencil to write 2024 planner because my handwriting is not really good. So the teacher can write it herself. And this is the removable bound planner. I put a collage here, and on the monthly planner, the misprinted one, I put another collage, so you cannot really see that it is wrong. Well, you can kind of see it from the other side, but it's not really obvious in my opinion. And this one, if you remember, I thread 5 times of this thread, so I printed another note pages for this planner. These note pages is also available in a 2025 planner freebie. In the 2025 planner freebie, I also put the goal planner. The goal planner has like the title and a checklist. I did not print it yet for this year, so I cannot really show you. Let me see if I have it on my table. This is the one that I made last year. Let's see. So I have notes. Oh yeah, this one. This is the goal planner that's also available in the freebie. You can write a title here, and this is just a checklist of whatever related to the title. So that's it. This is the tutorial for the planner. I hope this is clear enough and you know how to use the printable planner. If you have any suggestion to make this planner better, do please share it with me. I want to make this into a tradition. Every year before the end of the year, finger crossed, I will post it earlier than December. I will be releasing the freebie planner for the upcoming year. Thank you for watching everyone. Happy crafting. Bye.